Mother was holding her deceased baby, but something happened that left the doctors speechless. There are many times when medicine does not have all the answers, and the only explanation for a miracle is love. Sofia had been unlucky in her previous engagements. She had tried to have relationships with men who did not value her, did not respect her desire to be a mother. Being an attractive woman, it was normal that many men tried to approach her and persuade her in the hopes of perhaps having an unforgettable night. I'm fed up with men. I don't want anything to do with them. They only want to trick me and seduce me. Ay, amiga. What happens is that you attract bad men. You have to try looking in places other than bars. But where else would I meet a man? The ones at work are very boring and I only see them as friends. Maybe the love of your life is closer than you think. You should try looking at the places you frequent. Sofia was chatting with her friend in a cafe while waiting for a client. They were interior decorators and worked for a very famous agency. It was about 30 minutes before a tall, handsome young man of about 35 appeared. "Hi, how are you? My name is Danny." Sofia felt it had been love at first sight. She couldn't stop watching him during the whole conversation and found it hard to pay attention to what he was discussing. The remodeling job at Danny's house was fairly straightforward, as he was a man who lived alone, had no commitment, or any other type of relationship. Sofia didn't want the job to end, but there was no way to approach Danny either. Finally, one day she made up her mind, invited him to a coffee to finish discussing the payment for the work done, and at that very moment, she took the opportunity to ask him if he wanted to go on a date with her. "Well, I didn't expect that, but I also wanted to go on a date with you." Sofia was happy, and even more so when Danny was the one who took the initiative on the first date, proposing her to have something more stable. A few months later, after that first meeting, they realized that they were like that. Their tastes and opinions almost always coincided, and when they did not, they complemented each other to give them another point of view. They lived a very romantic and mature courtship, since both had already passed the stage of fleeting relationships. A year after they met, they decided to take the next step and get married. They moved into a beautiful house, which they remodeled and furnished to their liking. They traveled to Thailand for their honeymoon and were definitely living a movie marriage, as expected. They wanted to take the next step and enlarge their little family. But fate had an obstacle in store for them. Sofia had an anomaly in her reproductive system, which made it practically impossible for her to have a baby. She didn't want to accept this reality in her life, so she chose to ignore everything the doctors told her and follow her own intuition. "There is nothing more in the world I want in the world than to be a mother. Danny, please, you have to support me. Don't worry, love. I know God will not abandon us in our request." That couple clung strongly to their desire to be parents. For a while, they tried all kinds of programs and techniques to compensate for that anomaly, and each time they were more and more frustrated. Because as the months went by, Sofia had her period without showing any change that anticipated a pregnancy. "Mom, I don't know what to do anymore. Danny and I have tried everything, but it's just not happening. I think maybe you're trying too hard, honey. Trust me, that baby will come when you least expect it." "I just feel like it will never come, Mom. I feel like that's all I'm holding on to, so I don't fall apart." "Daughter, don't say that. You just have to have faith. God will not abandon you. I promise, Sofia." She said goodbye to her mother and set out to drive home. She thought that if she wasn't going to have a baby, she should at least be happy with her life. So she decided to leave her melancholy and focus only on trying to be happy. Soon after, Danny noticed the change in her attitude and felt more relaxed. They decided to take a break from reproductive techniques and schedules and just be happy. 3 months later, Sofia began to notice a lot of drowsiness and sudden nausea. At first, she didn't want to believe it, but then she bought a pregnancy test. The little device confirmed it. Sofia was pregnant. She couldn't believe it. She was in a state of euphoric disbelief. She shouted it in the middle of the office while calling her husband to tell him the happy news. He wanted to jump out the window and shout it to the four winds just a few days later. Danny and Sofia were at the OBGYN's office to determine the weeks of pregnancy and start the pregnancy control. There, the doctor would give them even more incredible news. Well, I think you must be very happy because despite this small anomaly, you were expecting twins. Sofia could not believe it. But Danny had a little hunch, because in his family it was very common to have twins and twins. The couple did not stop buying and preparing things for their babies. They acquired a double stroller, a big playpen, and large quantities of diapers, and a lot of clothes and accessories. Danny told his happy wife not to buy so many girls' clothes, as they didn't know the sex of the babies yet. Don't worry, I know there are girls and their names will be Natalia and Pilar. Danny laughed, but he didn't take his wife's word for it. Everything was going normal until one morning at 27 weeks of pregnancy, Sofia began to feel contractions. They immediately went to the hospital where the doctors tried to stop them, but they were too strong and there was no other option but to bring forward the delivery. It was very fast and painful, but within an hour, Sofia had given birth to her two precious girls. They were immediately taken to therapy to be cared for in an incubator. The older one, Natalia, was stable and looked well, but her younger twin, Pilar, was not well. The little girl could not breathe, even with a ventilator, so they immediately performed resuscitation maneuvers, but after an hour, there was no positive response. The medical team decided that there was nothing more to do. The doctor who treated her entire pregnancy decided that she was the one who should talk to Sofia and Danny. That couple was in the room, waiting for Sofia to recover enough to see the little ones. Sofia, Danny, I want you to know that we did everything in our power, but I want to tell you that one of your little ones couldn't make it. I'm so sorry. There are times when only love is the only possible answer. To stop at a diagnosis is incomprehensible to love. I want to see my daughters, said Sofia in a firm voice. Can't you hear me? I want to see my daughter now. You can't deny me. Sofia went into a state of hysteria, began screaming and thrashing on the bed. The doctors tried to calm her down, but couldn't. They tried to give her some painkillers, but Sofia ripped out her IVs in a rage. The doctors could not let Sofia say goodbye to her baby in that state. They were afraid that by seeing her, Sofia might faint or increase her nervous breakdown. However, they could not find a way to calm her down. Not even Danny, her husband, could calm her down. At that moment, the doctor decided to give in to her request, brought little Pilar and placed her wrapped in sheets in her mother's arms. The little girl lay motionless, her little hands clenched. Sofia and Danny surrounded her, began to kiss her and whisper words to her. Pilar, please wake up. We love you and we need you. Your little sister Natalia needs you. You are too important. You are half of our heart. Please wake up. The doctors did not want to look at that sad scene, but suddenly something changed. The little girl began to move between the sheets and suddenly began to cry. The doctors and nurses couldn't believe it. The baby started crying and breathing on her own. They didn't know if they should examine her or leave her with her parents. They let her parents enjoy this incredible miracle for 5 minutes. Then they went to check the little girl and realized that, incredibly, the newborn Pilar was stable, just like her sister Natalia. The girls evolved well as the weeks went by. They gained weight and their organs ended up developing very well. At the moment of receiving them at home, Sofia and Danny took extreme care of them. They also asked for the support of the new grandparents, since they did not want to make any mistake. However, the babies grew and developed normally. Years later, Sofia nicknamed Pilar my miracle baby. She grew up happy and healthy without any side effects from that episode. Sofia's story shows us that miracles can happen at any time, even when we believe that God has already showered us with blessings, because His love is infinite and never ends. Dear friends, this is the end of our story today. Now tell me, what did you think of Sofia's story? Do you believe that miracles can happen even when we already feel blessed? If you liked our story, give us a like and leave us your valuable comments so we can all read it. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, we invite you to do so and activate the notification bell so you will always be informed when we have new stories. For now, we can only invite you to wait for our next story. See you soon!